I always find it funny because that's kind of like that's the whole thing, right? Like that's the accessibility.
What movies have you been watching?
This
I don't
man
remember.
watching these strange
I
movies with Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau's channel is just just him.
Tommy Wiseau teaches soccer.
Tommy Wiseau teaches soccer. Gosh. Oh, that'd be so bad. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the world of Super Agile Bros. It is good to hear from you guys. I guess not hear from you guys or see you guys, but to know that you guys are listening to us is good. As you guys know, it's me, Bradston, with the fellas. We got Kyle in the building. Kyle, tell the people, hey.
What's up, everybody?
And of course, we have the Steve himself. What's up, Steve? What's going on, brother?
Macaroni.
Ooh, tunes.
Absolutely. I like the tunes. I like the little jig there. That was nice. But hey.
I had macaroni with Thanksgiving.
Oh, yes.
Didn't we all? Everybody.
A staple.
Everybody had macaroni.
That's what I was excited about.
If it's not there, then you're not having Thanksgiving. So, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We are actually recording this, I guess, the week after Thanksgiving. When you guys hear this, it may not be the week of Thanksgiving, but we'll see. It just depends how we decide to be because we're crazy. But, today's going to be interesting, fun, and a good one. I think Steve suggested this one, and I agree. This is going to be cool. We're going to be talking about playing video games, that would be, with our significant others or our friends and families who are not game players, and what that's been like, that experience. And I know we all have different experiences. I have a few stories I definitely want to tell along the way. But I guess Steve, you were missing last week. We missed you. Anything you want to say to the people before we get started? Exactly. We don't want to hear it. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started.
That was dirty. Oh, man.
No, what were you going to say, Steve? Go ahead.
Oh, I forgot. No, I was going to say. I always hate when people do that. The kind of like passive aggressive. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, say it, please. Say
remember.
I remember exactly what it was. I was going to say, I wish I'd been here, but I don't wish strong enough that I went back and listened to the episode, so I have no idea what you guys talked about. I'm looking forward to going into it fresh.
Yeah, we didn't release an episode on Thanksgiving week, so technically you haven't even heard it, So, well, it'll come out very soon. So, anywho, let's go ahead get this boy started up in here. So I guess the question out the gate is, I guess we just set the baseline. What does it mean to be a non-gamer? I guess a non-game player for you guys, because I feel like we probably have all played with different people of different skill levels of but some of them we'd probably consider them gamers or some of them not. So I guess, for you guys, what makes somebody a non-gamer? I guess I'll start with Kyle because I heard you say a thing.
Ooh. So I think this is a very loaded question because there are people who like to play video games that would consider themselves gamers but aren't very good, no matter how much they try. And so there's a place for them. But I think an actual non-gamer is just somebody who also doesn't have the fortitude to be able to play a game, but also isn't very interested either.
Okay. That was simple, succinct. What about you, Steve-O?
I would say it is somebody who does not seek out games. And I don't mean video games. I just mean games in general. So like in terms of tabletop games, I'm not really a gamer. I'll play with you if you want to play Catan for the millionth time, Mom. But
hey, Steve's mom. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Mom. But yeah, just someone who does not seek out games or gaming experiences. Even if you are occasionally willing to play with your friends, that doesn't necessarily make you a gamer.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I would agree with you guys for the most part. Maybe the only addition I'd have is that I think it would be somebody like, it's hard because, for example, my mom, she does seek out games, like on her Kindle or whatever it's called. Like her Kindle can play games.
Like an e-reader?
Yeah, her e-reader.
It's a tablet, not an e-reader, right?
No, it's an e-reader. 100%.
It plays games?
As
I didn't know
it has games. And the games are 90% of them are word games.
Of course.
Like, and they're very simple. They're like Sudoku type. They're like fill in the word, kind of scrabbly, kind of like those kind of games. Mm-hmm. And she seeks those out. Like, I'll come over, when I go home, I'll be like, oh, Mom, what are you playing? She's like, oh, I just found this game. And I'm like, oh, like you actively went out of your way. Cause I 100% did not put any games on her Kindle. I set up her Kindle because it was super, super weird.
Yeah, those things are difficult to navigate.
But I didn't add a game on there. Like my mom went out of her way to find them. And actually, when I bought her the Kindle, one of the most important things was to make sure that she could still play games on it. Because like some of them are weird and they don't let you use some of the application stuff. So anyway.
Snap.
So yeah, but I wouldn't consider my mom a gamer. Like, even though I know she seeks them out, I think I feel like a gamer to me is somebody who identifies themselves as a gamer. Like not by their actions or anything like that, but like it has to be self-described. So I don't know what y'all think about that, but that's what I think.
On that, by that token, would mobile exclusive gamers be considered gamers? Like I remember that was kind of an uprising in the days of Angry Birds. Like I think that's when the debate was really hot, whether or not people who played games on their phone were actual gamers. What do you think?
I think I would say that the quality of the games are probably low, and a lot of those mobile games tend to be not just low quality. There's something about them that really bother other gamers, myself included. I think it's the completely devoted drive towards like popularism, or I don't know, just having like really basic mechanics, really basic gameplay, just whatever it takes to just have the most users engaged and not really offering like necessarily like the best experience or all the things I love about games aren't really things that make them popular for everyone else. Like the lowest denomination of interest that people would have in games.
But you would still consider them gamers.
Sure. I mean, I think especially if they're passionate about it, like if they're like, oh, I love Clash of Clans. Like I put 800 hours into my Farmville farm. Like,
so that counts.
Right, I won't join you, but you're a gamer.
Yeah, I would definitely say mobile gamers, as I said, mobile gamers are gamers, or mobile game players are gamers, because like if I was a kid, I'd probably be a mobile game player because like it's accessibility versus like what I want to play. Like when I was a kid, I mean, we had this conversation before, like Flash games that were in the web browser. Like I didn't have a PlayStation or a PlayStation 2. I had a Nintendo and a Nintendo 64, but we had very few games because, like my parents would only buy a game every once in a while. So most of my gaming experience from like 8 to like 15 was on the web, like random Flash games, stick fighting games, volleyball, whatever it was, so I would definitely say it doesn't really matter what medium you use. It's maybe more about accessibility, what type of gamer you are, and maybe what you were introduced to first,
Ooh, yeah.
And I think, and like I said earlier, like that could include any games. Like if someone really loves playing basketball, like that's kind of its own thing, but in the broadest sense of the term, yeah, you're a gamer. I know guys who have spent, $1,000, $2,000 on all these like high fantasy like board games, not like Dungeons and Dragons, but just every board game imaginable, things I'd never heard of, never seen before or since. They're instead of books, they just have shelves full of board games.
Oh yeah,
it's like you're certainly a gamer.
Well, I would say that maybe I disagree on the whole. If you're a basketball player, you're a gamer, because I feel like sports, though they are games, like in a sense, I think that the fundamental difference is like a gamer game is a game that fundamentally is kind of against reality in some aspect, right? Like when you play basketball, you're actually shooting the basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I think
I'm willing to draw that line. I was just trying to be
yeah.
inclusive, I guess.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. But I think for my definition of what a gamer is, I would definitely say like LeBron James, just because he can dunk on people for no reason. I wouldn't consider him a gamer unless he was playing NBA 2K13 or something.
So gamers cannot be athletic.
They can be. It is inclusive.
No, they can't.
No, they can't.
It is inclusive, but
that's how you know someone's a gamer if they're flabby.
Flabby.
You know. So, okay. I mean, okay. So, I guess just as a terms of consensus, would we say that a general term is like, I guess it's objective. It's not objective. It's subjective. So, we have our subjective terms. I'm not going to even try to like summarize it, but like basically what I heard. Well, I'm going to try and summarize, but I'm not going to say that there's a definition definitively. Like, hey, it's somebody who doesn't seek out games, or just somebody who considers himself a gamer, or somebody who, kind of is interested in it beyond just like, oh, it appeared in front of me. Like,
well, so I said someone who does seek out games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like somebody who does seek out games.
Got it.
Cool.
Sure, yeah. Someone, especially if they're passionate about it. Like if they're proud, or they like to do it with their friends or something, like that helps.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this. Have you ever converted, yes, the word converted, a non-gamer into a gamer? Like, is there somebody that you're aware of in your life who was not into games, who is now a gamer?
Because of my actions?
Yeah, because of your actions, or maybe even they were like maybe even a retired gamer. Maybe they used to play back in the day when they were kids, and then like now they've picked it back up. Or do you even consider yourself that person? Like somebody who wasn't always a gamer, like, and then came back. Either of you guys ever had an experience of converting a gamer or creating a gamer?
It's kind of hard to say. Like, I would lean towards like, I guess being around to reawaken the gamer in people. Like I've done that, I feel. But all the people that I know of who didn't play games and then did with me, and maybe did for some time afterwards when I wasn't there anymore, I feel they all already had kind of an affinity towards games already. And I was just kind of, I guess, the bridge between when they used to play and what they're going to play now. So,
yeah.
So I guess the example in this situation would be like my parents. You know, like when I lived with them, I was the game head. You know, I had all the games in my room or whatever, and I'd invite them to play with me. And one thing I kind of took upon myself, even though I was going to do it anyway, was to like get good enough at the game to where I could teach them how to play and make it really simple for them. But in a way that, you know, they could really grasp, you know, how to get better at the game, so they would get better, and so that would encourage them to play more too with me. And you know, and that was when I have siblings, but they either weren't into games, they were working or whatever, and my parents would be around. So I played a lot of Smash Brothers with my dad growing up because I showed him how to play that, and so that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
I never thought to invite my family. You know, maybe I did when I was younger, but I think I'll get back to it later, but my mom was pretty like unable to play games just because she gets like motion sick. And so I guess early on I learned not to bother asking her.
Fair enough.
No, that's real. Yeah, I mean, I think my experience is kind of similar to you, Kyle. Like, you know, it's funny because as I think about it more, I think there's almost like a line in the sand that people sometimes draw when it comes to gaming. Like somebody will play Monopoly with you, right? Somebody will play card games with you. But like, if you're like, hey, you want to play name the game on any system, anywhere, anytime, any era, they're like, that's not my type of thing. You know, it's like, I feel like in general, I find that board games and like card games are very open and accessible to people. But for some reason, video games, you know, and maybe a little bit more hardcore board games, you know, like the Catans and stuff like that, is sometimes almost a little bit too far. Like, I feel like people decide if they're going to be a gamer depending on like what culture has said about gamers, you know, if it matches who they want to be
Yeah.
Publicly or privately. You know what I'm saying?
That happened to me. I remember I was maybe in like middle school or high school, and I was at some summer camp, basically summer camp for nerds. We were over at Clemson. It was like an engineering summer camp, and we would stay in the dorms, and we had like dorm mates, and surprisingly made some friends while I was there. But I remember being invited by some guys to play Dungeons and Dragons with them, and I was like, pass. Just and I remember thinking like, hey, this seems really complex and I don't really know anything, and it seems like there's a lot to pick up that they already know, so I would be behind. But B, Dungeons and Dragons was just always this like ultra nerdy, like,
that's fair,
like not nerdy but like geeky, just
geeky,
really deep in the cruft of nerd culture, and I was like, I don't really know if that's for me. And looking back on it, I don't regret that, but I also am like, I probably would have enjoyed myself if I let myself get into it.
Let yourself have fun,
the other reason, to be fair, I was probably really shy, and so I knew that would be asking a lot of me to like be energetic and be like open with people.
The role playing aspect of D&D is pretty intimidating. Like if you never done anything like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, like, it's weird because, like, I definitely am open to pretty much anything, like, from a gaming perspective. But I think I've definitely been hesitant when it comes to, like, Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, too. Because, I think the bigger thing is the commitment. Like, I'm down to play, like, a board game or any kind of video game at somebody's house that I've never played. But, like, it does feel like you really have to be like, hey, we're going to do this for the next month. And I'm create characters. It's kind of like it's kind of like a hobby more than it's just purely a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, I'm a part of a knitting club. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to show up, you got to have your knitting materials. It kind of feels like that. And of course the the stigma, like saying to somebody like, yeah, I just came from a D&D session. Like, they immediately have like, oh, what kind of people were you hanging out with? And not to be rude, but like the stereotype is kind of like accurate. Like,
for sure.
Like, the people who I've tried to play with, and like I could totally fit that MO. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't met many people who like I play basketball or like something with who are like, yo, son, you want to go hit up some D&D real quick?
Right.
Of course.
On the other hand, I've had some really cool friends that were like, actually, you want to play D&D? And I'm like, oh, you guys do that?
Yeah,
but that's when they're, but that's because they're older, and like all of the geeky kids just learned how to be normal humans, and they kept playing D&D.
And I'd say the ones that are kind of that break the stereotype mold and are cooler, quote unquote, and play D&D aren't as committed as the ones who are like in the weeds and
sure, that's fair.
Fit. Yeah, the stereotype.
Yeah, I think there's like this lack of a better word, you kind of have to be shameless, because to be all in, like to become another character, you kind of have, unless you're an actor, like literally an actor, you kind of have to like take away, like, like think about like, what's his name playing Thor or whatever. Like,
it's
like, you see him in, like, if he was out in the street playing Thor and the Thor movie didn't exist, you'd be like, this dude is crazy. But because like of the framing of it, it feels not weird or quote unquote geeky. Right. So yeah, I think it's the role playing part that's kind of difficult for me to get into. It's hard for me to get out of my head.
I think like, movies like the explosion of the DC and Marvel cinematic universes kind of have tipped it to where the geeky side of it, with the costumes and the acting and the having props and all that stuff, is like more acceptable, I think, than it was 20 years ago, I guess, when it was at its highest, but definitely super highest as far as nerdiness too.
I think it's that and the popularization of anime.
Ooh,
I think it's interesting because cosplay, like, I would say like cosplay is super popular, and I would actually say that it's still like nerdy, but I don't think it's as geeky as it used to be. Like, I think it's just like, oh, you're like a person who's really into, like you said, anime or to video games or movies. And since, like you said, movies are like, the Marvel movies are super popular, like you could literally see like somebody wearing a Spider-Man suit and you'd be like, yo, that's super legit, man. Which Spider-Man are you? You know, like, and they talk to you because it's kind of like popular, in the popular, you know, jargon mindset. But like, I think even cosplay is so temporal, right? Like you go to a convention, a con, you might be cosplaying for a day or 2 or 3 max. But like, once again, like and a lot of times people don't know who you are, right? So it's kind of like an anonymous event, and maybe you make friends, but like you kind of just, everybody's there. But I feel like D&D and stuff like that is very like, it's you. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel like I could easily, like I've considered doing cosplay, but I'm, number one, not very artistic and also lazy. So like if those things weren't a problem, then I'd definitely be doing it. But I still struggle more with the D&D side. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I think the environment contributes a lot to it too, because like you were saying, the convention, you go there with the expectation you're going to see people in these wild costumes. You know, you're going to see somebody who shouldn't be dressed up as this character, dressed up as that character because they like them, and you respect it because of where you are. But then, like for D&D, you're in somebody's house, maybe in their kitchen or their basement, and everything's like left up to imagination. And so, like the environment isn't set to where you have the predisposition to accept certain things. And that's also what makes stuff feel weird. Because, like, the Thor comment too. You know, if anyone's ever been to New York and you see the costumed people on side of the, out in the street, it's never like, oh, cool.
It's like, oh, I hope you're okay.
You sweating a lot, Iron Man.
This is kind of, we're going on a tangent. I definitely want to come back around to our original conversation, but I was just thinking about this. I don't know how you guys have felt about this, but I really struggle for some reason pulling out my Switch and just playing it in public. Now, I'll just say that I think it's because I really do hate people inferring something about me or my level of seriousness or adultness because I'm playing a game. I've had to kind of like internally tell myself, just be you. It does not matter. You are on the plane. You're in the lobby. You know what I'm saying? Like, and especially if I'm traveling for work, like I'm really like unlikely to pull my Switch out because I'm like, man, what if somebody I'm traveling with is actually on my project and they, you know what I'm saying? And,
dude, that'd be sick.
Yeah, but it's the problem is like people who are non-gamers sometimes don't take you, they kind of see you as a like, I don't know what it is, but like maybe it's just me making this up in my head, but it kind of feels like they treat me like I'm, oh, hey there, little boy.
Immature. Yeah.
Immature,
I think games still do have that connotation, like when they're in public, I guess, for you to have your Switch or your DS out, it's like, that's a kid's thing to do.
I guess it depends on where you work or whoever you're around because, well, it also probably depends on how much you care. I have zero issues pulling my Switch out at the airport or on the plane, or on a train, or in a box, or with a fox.
I knew it was coming. There it was. I was like, he's on it now.
I'm on it. But yeah, I have no problems with that. But also, I just feel like, so where I work now, we have at least 1 or 2 channels in Slack kind of devoted to talking about gaming.
Oh, nice.
And they're open for anybody. It's not just like the gamers got together. It's an open channel and it's all full of gamers. It's not like everyone's in it, but it's I wouldn't say it's ultra active, but it's not super active, but the slice, like what's the phrase I'm looking for? I don't know. The slice of people that are part of it, young and old, men and women.
Demographic?
The demographic, thank you. It's pretty varied. And I'm sure there are some people who are ashamed, but there's also some people that I would consider like somewhat senior or somewhat respectable, knowledgeable that are like actively in this game or in this game channel and like, hey, did anyone try the new beta for whatever stupid online free for all game there is.
Yeah.
And I feel bad actually because everyone is the demographic is so varied that a lot of people don't play the same game. So we keep being like, oh, is anyone playing Deep Rock Galactic? And no one else is playing Deep Rock Galactic. So it never goes anywhere. But hey, it's there. We talk about it.
That's cool. Yeah. I think part of it for me stems from I'll say I don't have an issue either, Steve. Taking out my Switch in the airport or on the plane, or if I have it with me and I know the battery is charged, I'm like,
right.
I'm going to use it. But I will say that I empathize with Brad as well. I think about it though, because when I was growing up, we had Game Boys, Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance, whatever. And there came an age where people would comment if you had it out in public. And nobody would say, hey, you don't need to be doing that type of stuff. But they would say, oh, aren't you a little old for that? Or what are you doing, playing Pokemon over there? And, getting teased, yes. I guess, is kind of put like a sore spot as far as, what, because people won't say anything, I guess, anymore nowadays. But it's like, in the back of your mind, somebody just looked at me, grown man over here with my Switch out and saying, wow, he must really not have his life together if he's just sitting there playing Pokemans,
100%. Actually, I really agree with that. I think a lot of it does come from trauma. It's like, growing up, community I grew up in, I shout out to to the homeboy Rob, because back in the day, he used to play Pokemon with me, but he'd have to come over to my house, to my crib, and we play against each other. Because he's a little bit older than me. He was in high school and I was in middle school. And I know not many people played Pokemon with him in high school. So he didn't really have nobody to play with. And him just pulling out his Game Boy or something would probably be seen as lame. You know what I'm saying? From where we are from. And I feel like the same. You kind of age out of that stuff. And in high school, me and my friends used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, y'all playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Y'all boys lame.
Exactly.
It's but at the same time, I could kick it with anybody. It's not that I'm cool or lame. I'm just me. And I think I still have that still resonates in my head. It's real easy for me to pop out a UFC MMA fight out in public and be watching it. Cause I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Sweaty dudes punching each other.
Manly.
It's manly, but it's definitely harder. I mean, it's definitely conscious. And, I think there's other things behind that I'm not going to get into, but I was just wondering if anybody else, it doesn't sound like you guys as heavily as me, but it may be in there somewhere in your brains.
I wish some old lady would approach me and be like, young man, don't you have anything better to do?
And just hand her a controller. Get on these sticks.
I'm about to give you these hands, old lady.
Final destination.
You know what? Here's a controller. Come on, come in here. We about to play some Smash and just spike her into oblivion.
Like I'm in the middle of a boss fight in Digimon or something, and I stop the game, don't save, open Smash. It's like, let's go right now.
Let's go right now. Come on, you got something to say? He's like, you know what? I'll fight you in the game, then in real life. We'll see who's really lame.
It's like chess boxing.
Then she 3-stocks you.
Oh my god!
In both.
Yeah, she takes all 3 of my lives IRL.
So speaking of old people, I wanted to come back to Kyle's statement about his parents.
His parents?
Yes, in some form. I think we're not in the era of being born in laboratories, in gestation cubes.
Oh yeah.
You're
right.
We're good. We
Speak for yourself.
I didn't do that. You're right.
But I did want to ask you guys about family and playing games with them and kind of your experience with them, if they're gamers or not. And I was going to start with a story. When I was I don't even know how old I was. I was pretty young. I had to be 9, 10, 11, 12. Me and my siblings convinced my parents to play Mario 64.
Ooh.
Right on.
I don't know how this came about. I have to ask my siblings because the fact that we convinced them, my parents are Jamaicans, video games were not even a consideration when they were growing. There's no time in their life have they ever considered video games. Sure. My dad did work for a computer type company, so he kind of knew about computers, but he wasn't into it. So anyway, we convinced them to come down, and I just remember how crazy that moment was because they played the first level in Super Mario 64, and it was the star where you have to beat Big Bomb or whatever.
The Bob-omb King.
The Bob-omb King. And I just remember like my mom or somebody, I think it was my mom, got to the top. And she was struggling so hard with the controls.
She made
like,
it though.
It was literally the ultimate boss fight. And I think she eventually beat him. And we were like, this is incredible. She never played the game again, but I don't know. That's a moment I cherish. Like that, like
cool.
My folks tried. Like they really didn't have to, but they tried. So
awesome.
how's it been with y'all with the family members and video games and stuff like that?
I can continue where I left off. So, I don't really remember much about my dad and games, but I can tell you, my mom was not into it. She doesn't really have that coordination. She gets motion sick with the 3D games. She gets really sick too, so it's just bad. So yeah, for a long time we never played anything with her. I don't think she had ever played anything other than like Pong, literally. A few years ago, I think I've told this story, but I'll tell it again. I brought home my Switch for the first time, and I had I had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I was playing with my brother, and I think she just wanted to hang out, and we were like, oh, you should play too. And so we turned on the motion controls, which was terrible, but she really wanted it. And I have video of her and my brother racing each other, basically.
That's awesome.
And she's like swerving her controller all over the place. And she's very loud, so she's like scream laughing, and she had the little artificial intelligence thing is on, so she doesn't go off the edges as much as she probably deserves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And so she's having a blast, and she doesn't know, like, she knows what button to push to throw items, but she doesn't have the awareness of when to throw them. So she's just constantly pushing the button. And so, and in Mario in Mario Kart, at least in 8, if you don't have an item and you push the item button, the guy blows his horn.
Yeah.
So you always know when she's coming up behind you because you hear the horn, and your character starts like jumping in his seat. And I'm like, oh, mom's right behind me. And every time she gets hit by a shell, she screams. Every time she gets the boost and passes somebody, she screams. It was so funny.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And she occasionally will play with us again.
Hey,
that's
man,
awesome.
that's what I love about Nintendo, man. Is that for quote unquote non-gamers or people who have those accessibility issues, they make their games so like far-reaching. Like anybody can play a Nintendo game and have a good time with family. That's so cool.
I don't know how she doesn't get sick. It's a 3D game.
Nintendo doesn't allow it.
They say that if people don't get motion sick if they're driving a vehicle, but they'll get motion sick if they're passengers. So I wonder if it's maybe a similar.
It's true. She gets sick when she's a passenger.
So maybe that's like her being in control of the driving helps a little
more
bit.
or less,
and it connects more versus like a first-person shooter, which is kind of like what in the world is happening. You know. Yeah, I mean, I think Nintendo 100% king of family fun. Because I mean, I don't know about y'all, but there was like the Wii era.
Yeah.
When it first dropped, like I kind of forget about it because it feels like a fever dream. But there was a period of time where like everybody was playing Wii Sports.
Sports, man.
The boxing game, like the bowling was the one in my family.
The tennis, man.
The bowling was really good.
Yeah, like that's. So, like, there's a period of time where my whole family was, quote-unquote, gaming. But once the Wii kind of, like, lost its luster and they shipped all those old consoles to old folks' homes, it's kind of died.
Well, the fact that the Wii had a second life as far as, like, therapy, like, who else has done that as far as games?
Nobody... successfully.
Not just that. I think, I don't know, this was a long time ago. I read some article talking about how they were doing a study to see how gaming affected Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what the results were, like if there was a strong, result from that. But they were testing, they gave old people, I think it was Super Mario 64 to play.
Oh, nice.
because it was like it exercises your spatial reasoning and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen some studies, but they're like not real games. They're like pretty much just glorified experiments, just like games with like like cognitive recall and stuff. Like and it seems from what I've seen, it anecdotally helps older people with their memory, but it has to be consistent. Like it can't, like more or less when they stop, the results, the benefits that they get from it,
it fades
seem
fast.
to fade really quickly, which is interesting. Wonder what that's about. But
I guess they're kind of like exercising a muscle then.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it might be like that. Well, Kyle, you were saying that more your dad or mom or somebody was more gaming-ish.
Yeah, so
gamers.
When my parents were growing up, they both had a favorite game, which I thought was interesting. I know, arcades were big when I was super young, but definitely when my parents were coming up, arcades were all the rage. And so they
were a rave too.
Yeah, and that too. And so my mom had a favorite game in Pac-Man. I guess I think it was specifically, I don't know if it was either Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man, but either way, she showed us her skills a couple of times and she's a beast. And then my dad's game was Galaga, and equally as fire on Galaga as my mom was on Pac-Man, like just insane. And so I guess, we didn't necessarily have a whole lot of games in my family, but knowing that they both had a background in a favorite game was pretty cool. And so then when we finally did get a Super Nintendo, they would play Goof Troop together. They'd do the co-op, and me, my brother and sister would watch as they play. Yeah, and they'd save the codes, so they'd pick up where they left off. They probably I don't know if they ever beat the game, but they got super far. And I was a little kid, so a lot of the levels creeped me out and stuff. But I vividly remember seeing my parents, both of them had a controller, standing at the TV, and we're all just screaming at it, run this way, pick up the bomb, all kind of stuff.
That's wild.
This man had the ideal
child. he's living literally the Nintendo Switch commercial, like the whole like, whoa, kill dad, whoa.
Adults playing video games, not on my watch.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think about it a lot. Like, what is it going to be like for my children? Like, even though like there's gaming is pretty popular with for people who are maybe 10 to 15 years older than me. And even people amongst my age who do have kids, a lot of my friends who have children aren't gamers. So like their kids are kind of living in a quote unquote normal household.
Wow.
I only say normal in the sense that traditional, right? And but I do have some friends who are gamers, and like Rob, for example, he has 2 daughters and they're gamers. Like I'm terrified the next time I get to hang out with them, because I hear about his daughter's the game that she's playing and stuff. And I'm like, yo, she'll probably work me nowadays. Like, especially when I was a kid, like if I had the time, I would absolutely be getting nasty at a game, because that's like the only game I'd play, Right. So I sometimes wonder, like, man, I wonder if my kids will be like, I'm going to play Smash with them and they're just going to be like, just absolutely OP. Like,
yeah, there's probably people who, I mean, I guess there already has been, but people who are like determined for their kids to be in eSports in the same way that when we were coming up, parents were determined for their kids to be in quote unquote actual sports.
Oh my goodness, that's terrifying. Like, I don't know why that's terrifying, but I know that's going to happen, and you're 100% right.
You're right. Yeah. I wonder how will that practically look?
I don't know.
They're going to be buying like the best console, the best PC equipment, 800 refresh rate monitors and stuff.
I have a feeling what it'll look like is like, I feel like, okay, if you are a pro gamer, like, like a pro athlete, likelihood is their child has a much higher likelihood of being a pro athlete, right? Like Deion Sanders' kids are, LeBron James, so on and so forth. So the first generation will definitely be pro gamers' children's, right? They're going to be like, oh, you need to be as good as your dad. And they're going to put them through a regimen, like whatever regimen they were growing up with. But now they can be a coach, so they can like modify it, make it better. You can be better than me, better than I ever was at Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? You know, but I think the only problem is that competitive games are kind of faddish in general.
Yeah, you can't just get good at one and stay forever.
Like, you can be good at fighting games, but fighting games continue to come out. So, like, you have to evolve your skills with it. But, like, basketball, minus, like, them changing rules from time to time, like, it's the same game, you know?
Yeah, once you're good at it, you're good at it.
Yeah.
It's the same game. It's also the same league. It's the same, like, schedule and like, conferences are all the same. Like, there's not really... With games, there's not really anything like that. Like, EVO and maybe, like, one or two other conferences every year are probably the closest way we have to, like, an NFL or an NBA. That's consistent, that everyone will tune into. Like, I'm not going to look at the Nintendo Super Smash Bros. Open that's, like, on again, off again every other year, and they change the rules and they have items for some reason.
Items?
You know? Yeah, Nintendo loves items in their tournaments.
Yeah, please get out of here with that, Nintendo.
They spend so much time on them, we're going to use them.
That's probably how they feel, honestly. Like,
you know, I have this weird feeling that what it's going to be like is how MMA has kind of become a thing. Because MMA, like, martial arts has existed for hundreds, thousands of years, right? But, like, there's been different people in different regions fighting different styles. And then, like, eventually people started adopting other people's styles. Oh, you do, like, grappling stuff. Oh, you do, like, striking stuff. Oh, you do da-da-da, right? Kicking stuff. And then it became mixed martial arts. And then now mixed martial arts is kind of like just the profession.
Just one martial art.
Right? Yeah, like, it's all the martial arts, all the different skills that are mature enough to have practitioners that are considered experts. And now they all just kind of filter down into this. Not that every fighter in mixed martial arts is an expert in every field, but there's somebody who could coach them. So I wonder if in gaming, what'll end up happening is like EVO, right, has all these fighting games. And then eventually, like, somebody will be like, hey, like, let's distill fighting games down to, like, one thing that we all know works, you know? And then it becomes the professional fighting game. You know, and then there'll be like a professional first person shooter, and a professional RTS, which basically is, what you call it?
Point and click.
What's in South Korea?
League of Legends?
Oh, no, League of Legends MOBA. Gosh, I can't believe StarCraft, and, you know, like, those games become pretty much, you know, long term. So I don't know. I wonder if it's like 10, 15 years from now, it'll be a different discussion. Like, there'll be a UFC in gaming or something, you know?
So, like, games developed just to be competed? Or for the competitive
purely
space?
competition. Like, purely competition. And I
think a lot of games are like that now, though.
I think the problem is that, like, games are still driven by, like, the streaming community, it seems like. You know what I'm saying? Like, what game is popular? Have y'all noticed that?
I mean, to some extent, yeah. But in terms of, like, fighting games, I feel like... Or in terms of, like, RTSs... Well, maybe not RTS. I'll just say about fighting games. It really feels like there's a few... Like, the new Street Fighters, the new Mortal Kombat... Well, maybe not Mortal Kombat. But I feel like Street Fighter has always been, like, a competition first. Or for a long time has been competition first. Smash Bros... the newest iteration definitely had an eye on competition compared to its earlier iterations.
Local.
Local competition. You know, there's certainly a push towards, in the fighting game scene, towards, like, making a game that's going to compete well so that it has a long life and a big base that, you know, supports it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily streaming.
Yeah. And I wonder if a professional, like, for me, right, I'm like a casual, first of all, I'm not a casual MMA fan.
Filthy casual.
I'm a hardcore MMA fan, but because I'm really into MMA, and I never, like, participated in a martial art per se growing up, like, nowadays I'm, like, boxing and, like, trying to get my, like, proficiency in striking. So, like, pulled me in as a person who didn't grow up playing fighting or something. I wonder if like a real professional sports, I mean, there's, once again, we talked about League of Legends is definitely seems to have a really budding professional scene, and same with the fighting games. But like something that really hits a mass appeal, like if all of a sudden there's people who were like, oh, I don't consider myself a gamer, but I consider myself a Call of Duty player. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, I think it'll come around. It just depends on who gets. I feel like money is gonna drive that.
Yeah,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that kind of drives, the sports industry is also the entertainment factor of watching them play the game. And there's a low barrier to entry as far as like knowing what's going on when you're watching, like, say, football. You know? Like, you can learn the rules super quickly, and then when you're watching on TV, you're only seeing one perspective. Everybody's seeing the same perspective, and you're seeing everyone on the field at the same time. All these different things that kind of don't exist in these multiplayer games outside of, MOBAs, where you do see a bunch of little people on the screen at the same time. But like shooters, they jump around from screen to screen. Sometimes they have a spectator type, flying cam, but
a bot.
Yeah. But like stuff like that, I think also keeps people from really engaging with it from just a spectator level.
Dude, sorry, this is a quick aside. I didn't know this until like earlier this year, but Splatoon 2 has a very robust spectator mode.
Yeah, it does.
Have you guys done that? It's so good. You can just zoom all over the stage. You can follow people. You can change your angle. It's like, it's really good. I had no idea until earlier this year.
It's another one of those hidden features in that game.
It's like, man, they put a lot of thought into it.
They did.
No one plays it.
It's very good.
So I think that's interesting that you said that, Kyle, though, and Steve, just in general. Because I think, like, being a spectator in general, it has the game or the sport has to be accessible, right? Like, you should be, like, my mom, she cares about football, American football, and she's Jamaican and didn't grow up on American football, right? She grew up on soccer. She came here and like kind of watched it, but the rules to her are simple. She might not know what's happening play to play, but she knows all that matters is that little weird oblong ball makes it into that big thing at the end, right? So like the objective is clear. I think that games suffer from, like, even for like our friends and family who we play games with who are not gamers, it's like objectives are kind of obscure.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't
objectives and actions.
And actions, like what correlates to something, right? So like you couldn't just sit down, like imagine like a game you're playing, Steve, you're playing Deep Rock Galactic, and your soon to be wife sits down to watch you, right?
Sure.
She may be entertained by like the stuff that you're doing, but I bet you she'll be like, so what's your goal? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, in this one, I'm doing this, we have to get the eggs. Oh, and now in this one, we have to do this. We have to like kill these things. And this one, like immediately, like not this, I'm sorry, I'm not putting it on your future wife like this, but she might be like, I don't care anymore. Like this is too complex.
Too much.
Like, but
no, she's better than that.
Yeah, she better than that. But what
she would say to you, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
So what do you guys?
Higher standards.
I'm done with you. Get out.
Throw the whole man out.
Get out. So what do you guys think about the idea that like the problem with playing with non-gamers in general, like, is that
came back to the topic
that the games are not accessible? Like games in general are not accessible for newcomers.
Yeah, I'd agree because like we've played Apex a pretty good bit. Three of us together, and we had a pretty good team comp going, and then we stopped playing. But we watch high level Apex play, and there's even times it's just like we've said this before on a couple different games, but they're just playing a different game. When we watch them play, and so I think that's like this. Like if you've played games for an extended amount of time, you can kind of parse together what's happening when you're looking at anything. But for somebody who's quote unquote doesn't have totally that filter. Yeah. Totally green. Like no idea what anything is,
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right. Cause that's the thing about football. I think that it's in a way, and sports in general, that if you know nothing what's happening, eventually you'll see, okay, the guys keep running in this direction every time. They always run this same direction.
I don't know, man.
And then one guy made it and got a touchdown. So that's how it works.
I didn't understand football till college. So I don't know if that's true for football. There's other sports that could make your point better, I think, than football.
I agree that there's.
I was laughing earlier when Brad mentioned football being accessible. I'm like, it's not.
Well, I think that's objective. Personally, I think sports in general subjective. Yeah, my bad. I said objective. Yeah, so I think everything has varying amounts of accessibility. But the fact of the matter is, I think Brad said this earlier, is that the rules don't change, and so that's the important thing. Like you would have never been able to digest it if, when you did come back to it or were willing to watch it longer, if it had changed.
Yeah. And I would even say like using my mom as the example for like football, one of the big things that I think helped her a lot was that like her sons and my dad were into football. Like me and my brother kind of brought my dad further into football, and then my dad would watch it, so my mom would watch it. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, what's this? Why is he doing this? But she understood that at the end of the day, the goal is to get more points. And if it gets to the end, and I feel like soccer, non-American football is, it's pretty simple. The ball goes in the goal. The players are just running around. Like there's forwards and there's centers and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you just kicking the ball into the goal. It's very complex when you play it, but it's pretty straightforward.
The rules are simple. Volleyball has dead simple rules.
Yeah, and
I love how in movies, usually I should have started with soccer, but usually, like if there's an alien or something on Earth, or a kid or somebody lost their memory, and they go onto a soccer field and they're like, hit the ball back to me, get it back to me. They immediately pick it up, and everybody's like, no, that's not the rule. That's not the rule. I always find it funny because that's kind of like, that's the whole thing, right? Like that's the accessibility.
What movies have you been watching?
I don't remember these strange movies.
You're right.
Tommy Wiseau's channel is just just him trying to figure out soccer. Tommy Wiseau teaches soccer. Gosh, that'd be so bad.
First, you pick up.
But sorry, what were you saying, Kyle?
No, it doesn't matter what he was saying.
It doesn't matter. I was effectively just going on a rant about accessibility and how the game is so accessible that they're able to make a joke about it and everybody understand the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good point. Because if he made that same joke about League of Legends, it would just seem like the guy's a jerk.
Right.
Like, no, don't do that. That's not the rule. It's like, sorry, you didn't tell me what the rule was.
It's interesting because when we talking about like significant others in games that you might play with them, like the games that I find when I talk to like a dude who's a gamer and might have a spouse who's not a gamer. I'm specifically saying guys because most of my friends are guys, so I can't really speak from this female, the woman.
Yeah, I don't have any female friends.
But like my male friends, like they're like, oh, like my wife doesn't play games, but you know what games we have played together? Like Overcooked, Minecraft, like just games that are like
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart, yes, Mario Kart, great one. Mario Party.
Yeah.
To some extent before they, you guys get angry and start yelling at each other. But, but I think that's it. It's the accessibility, right? Like, for example, my wife, I would say like she's a gamer. She doesn't, it's hard. Like you have to ask her if she considers herself a gamer. But when we got started dating and like became friends, I found out she was playing like Call of Duty by herself. Like,
no kidding.
Yeah. She wasn't playing online. I was like, oh, so do you play online? She's like, oh, no, I'll never play with other people. I just play zombies. She's like,
that's still good. That's cool.
I was like, wow, like you can play a first-person shooter? Like, to me, that's like, if you can play a first-person shooter, you're pretty much a competent gamer in my,
yeah.
Like that's probably the most difficult for people to like get when they're first trying to play a game. So
less forgiving than most games.
Yeah, because it's like you have two axes that you have to control with joysticks, and you have face buttons, and you have triggers. Like it's really hard to.
And you have situational awareness, like because and you can't see
and the different weapons that don't necessarily act the way that you would expect per se until you get used to
it. And a
HUD. Oh yeah, with your life and
there's so much.
So it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I was like, okay, she's good. So like. first game like we started playing together, I think, was Overcooked, and that's become our game. Like Shiley's about that life. Like she'll sometimes be like, "Hey, you want to play some Overcooked?" like she's the one initiating like the Overcooked experience. But she only plays limited games. Like I think she might be right now playing Minecraft as we speak. And like, but those are games that are like super accessible, and like she won't play Overcooked by herself because it's kind of like the nature of the game. But like Minecraft, she'll play by herself, and she'll ask me, "You want to play?" And then sometimes I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna go do something else," and then she'll just continue playing without me. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that accessibility is key for non people who don't consider themselves gamers. Because if you ask Charlene, she probably wouldn't say she's a gamer, but she might. I don't know. I don't know what you guys' experience is like, because I know for you, Steve, didn't Keisha get into what was it?
Portal.
Was it Portal? No, it was.
Yes.
Was it Portal?
We did play Portal 2. She played a little bit by herself, the campaign. We played through the multiplayer, at least the main part of the multiplayer together. I think you were going to ask if she was into Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, that's what it was.
Yes.
That's what it was.
She was into that. She doesn't like stick to it. And I think that's something I was going to bring up is like, it feels like if I have we never let me answer the question about converting somebody.
You don't get to.
Yeah, I don't get to. I guess I can do it now. I feel like to some extent I kind of have converted her because she's into, like, I got her a Steam account. I've bought her a few games. She plays mouse and keyboard. Well, she plays keyboard and touchpad, which is awful.
One quick thing. I would have to say that your conversion methods are essentially like the same methods of like the Spanish Inquisition. Like you just like, you are now a Christian. Like here, this is yours now. They're like, okay.
Well, I got her the account so we could play Stardew Valley together and Portal 2 together because we were long distance dating, and so that was like, one of the ways we wanted to try to spend time together. And I caught her multiple times playing Stardew Valley by herself, and like I would be like, "Oh, can I like come to?" She started a new game. She's like, "I'm like, can I come to your new farm?" And she's like, "No, I have it kind of worked out. I have my own thing. I don't need someone else." I'm like, "Okay."
I've outgrown you, Steve.
I already mentioned she married Harvey. She has kids with Harvey.
Snap! You blew it.
Snap. Exactly.
Wait, was Harvey the one that looks like you?
Yeah, apparently he looks like me. I mean, he's 8 pixels across, so who can say who he really looks like?
So technically, you're going to become her second husband.
Yeah, I'm her second husband.
Her second marriage.
But yeah, what I found is that, she was into this for a little bit, but over time she kind of just dropped out again. So she was, I guess you would say, like a fair weather gamer. Like if it's convenient and I remind her like, "Oh, you like this," and she goes, "Oh yeah, maybe I'll play it." Yeah. She was playing Ori in the Blind Forest, and she got stuck and kind of gave up, which is understandable.
Yep.
Metroidvanias are a thing. But yeah, she's kind of into it, but she's also really particular. She won't play Minecraft because of the pixel stuff. She's like, she doesn't like the low bit graphics in games, which I'm like, it's disappointing, but okay. I was playing the demo for Rayman Legends, and it was too cartoony.
Oh.
And I'm like, but it's fun. Like, it's objective. Like, we're goofing out, we're laughing and having fun. But then on the other hand, she really enjoyed playing Unraveled 2 with me.
Ooh. Huh.
So I don't know. I don't really understand her taste. So I'm looking forward to figuring some of that out.
You'll have more
the rest
time
of your lives.
You'll have a lot more time.
Oh, I started playing this brain teaser game called Not. And it's not even really a game. Actually, I also got my mom to play this over Thanksgiving break, so that says something. But it's a brain teaser where you basically are just given directions and you have to push one of 4 directions. So it'll say up, you have to push up, and you have like 2 seconds to respond. But then the instructions become more complex, and they start adding negatives like not up, not left, or not left, or not nothing.
Oh my god!
And you're like, what? You have like a second, 2 seconds to respond.
That's crazy.
And so So we played that. She came over and we played that, and we were having a good time. We were like playing back and forth. She would get frustrated. I would pick it up and keep playing. It's pretty fun. It's pretty like addictive. And then she's like, oh, it's for free on the Android store. And apparently she's like ahead of me now. And she just plays it. I'm like, all right, this girl's become a not master.
Hey.
So
what about you, Kyle? Is Julie a pseudo gamer or a gamer?
Is she a gaming girl?
Have you inquisited her?
So yeah, there's been a couple of games that we've played together over the years, and I think I've got a pretty good idea of like her tastes. So she definitely likes puzzle games. I say puzzle as a umbrella because I haven't weeded it down to which type yet. But usually when I catch her something on her own, it's a puzzle game. Like she likes when she plays on her phone, it's mostly those games where you're kind of building things up by acquiring other things and then investing resources, stuff like that. She's really into those. Mm-hmm. But as far as games we've played together, the first game I have a memory of that she really like invested time and beat me a couple times, like legitimately. You might remember this game, Brad. Speedrunners.
Oh, really? Man, that game is so fire, son. Man, we killed that junk.
So when we first downloaded that game, we had a couple guys who were playing it, and we'd play it, man, for a couple hours, for a couple of weeks, like a couple nights a week. It was like, man, it was that hotness for a minute. And she saw us playing it, and she was like, that looks like a lot of fun. And, it was one of those really low ceiling as far as accessibility games. And so we would race sometimes. And I went through all the campaign while I was playing with you guys just to make sure I was, at least second best, if not the best in our crew. And so she saw me do that. She was like, man, and so then she started playing it with me, and then she started playing it on her own. And I didn't know she was doing that.
Mm-hmm. So it spreads.
Yeah. And so I would come home from work sometimes, and she'd be on Speedrunners. Eventually she started doing the campaign, got pretty far in the campaign, and she was like, okay, I want to race you now. And we would race, and it'd be intense. Like, we'd do 1v1s, and we even played a couple of weeks ago. And when I tell you that she got so good at that game, like, I was so proud.
Oh. No, I almost remember. Did she play with us one time? Like
I think she did.
Yeah, and she was getting it, and like she was fairly new, and I was like, oh, she's like pretty decent at this. Like, we've been playing pretty hardcore, and like it was me, you, Antoine, like we're pretty hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's really awesome.
And so there was one more game where she's done that, and it was actually Mario Kart 8. And the story about that one is, because I'll admit, I've been trying to convert my wife into a gamer, like a video gamer, because she grew up playing like card games and stuff. Didn't have too many video games in the house. And like when we were dating, I was her introduction into video games, anime, superheroes, to a deeper degree, all that type of stuff. And so, it's been a process. But anyway, so we'd play a bunch of Mario Kart, and we actually went through, and when I first got the game, we finished all the cups together, because you can do the what do you call the Grand Prix in multiplayer. And so we did that. We got gold in all of them, and she saw me play, and she was like, how do you do that? How do you drift? How do you know when to use weapons? How do you keep a shell behind you? And so I would teach her things one by one. She would practice them. Like, she was investing the work. And then it was speedrunners all over again, where we wouldn't necessarily do 1v1s, but like there was times I'd come in second place, and I'd be like, okay. And so I'd have to slide up on the chair, and we'd go at it.
Lean forward a little.
He's like, I didn't want to have to do this, but
yeah, dude, nothing feels better. Not a lot of people will get this, but nothing feels better to me than playing Smash Bros with Caleb, and then suddenly he leans forward after you take a stock. I'm like, oh yes, I have done it. I've won in my mind.
Time to turn up.
Nothing like it.
No,
and then he beats you.
You know what's interesting? Like as Shailene plays games, like I think people, everyone has different styles on how they approach their entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, like it's variety. So at any given time, I might be playing like 5 different games, right? Like, so, I'll play Minecraft with her. Of course, I'll play, Overcooked. Right now I'm playing Mario Rabbids. I'm playing God of War. I'm probably about to start Spider-Man. I finally got it, y'all. So
yeah.
Oh, let's go, dude.
And then Division 2. Like I'll be playing whatever. Like, and I'll keep a track. They're all in my mind simultaneously, and I'll just play what I feel. But
lazy Susan.
Yes, it's like, what's next? What's on? And sometimes I play a game super hardcore for a long time. But like, I find that Shailene's more of like she gets kind of focused on a thing. Like, she's really into like Criminal Minds. And she'll watch Criminal Minds from beginning to end. And there's like 90 seasons, but that'll be the only thing she watches. And then she finishes it. And then she starts a new season, a new show. Like, oh, I'm going to watch X.
Oh, wow.
Beginning to end, finishes it. And then she's like, you know what? I want to rewatch Criminal Minds. And she'll rewatch the whole thing in Criminal Minds. And sometimes I'm like, wait, I thought I saw this episode already. She's like, oh yeah, I'm just rewatching it. And I'm like, the same with The Office. That's one of her favorite shows. Ooh. So
I'm gonna try watching New Girl with Keisha when we move in together because of you, Brad.
Yeah, I never finished New Girl. When it got to a certain season, I was like, I think I'm good. That's kind of how I am. So I was like, I think I got it. I think I get this.
That is how you are. I don't understand. Actually, no. I do it with movies. I don't understand, but with long shows, I can definitely just stop watching.
Movies are just like, when they're bad to me, it's egregious, and I just can't. I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, I know
this man will stop 5 minutes before a movie ends if he decides it's not worth it.
Yeah, because sometimes to me, and this could be a whole nother conversation for another day, but to me, sometimes I prefer to stop an experience before I'm truly hated.
Snap.
Like, I'd rather walk away being like, you know what, I dislike this, than walk away like, I hate you. Because at least in my mind, I still have some love for you, but it's better to just walk away.
I feel differently. I'm willing to transition into hate watching mid movie if that's what it takes.
No. Yeah,
Brad succumbing to senioritis while watching a movie.
100%. Like, I started watching a sci-fi movie recently, and I was like,
Europa Report.
I will never. See, that's what I'm saying. I should have stopped Europa Report, but I said, you know what? Let me continue. It might get better.
I know.
It might get better.
The one movie you finished,
and it just got worse.
That's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt.
And sci-fi movies, I'll say this, are a little bit different. I like sci-fi so much, I'll just go through all the way. Like 90% of the time. But recently, I watched a movie. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. I can't do this. I'm gonna get angry.
We should have a Europa Report. A Europa Report episode.
A Europa Report.
Yes, we should do it. We'll watch it again.
Oh my god!
And we'll just bag on it for an hour.
I've never watched it.
We're gonna make you watch
you'll
it.
Be blessed in the wrong direction.
We should also do a Sunshine.
Yeah,
he hasn't seen Sunshine.
Sunshine is the greatest movie that nobody's ever seen. So,
exactly. We really should watch it.
So good. But
talk about it. Anyway,
just going back. Yeah, let's note those things. I'll write these down. Europa Report, and but yeah, like Shailene is very much more focused. So I think for her, when it comes to gaming, it's like she plays a game, and then that's all she's gonna play. And the problem is, like, Minecraft is the kind of game that, like, like there is no end. And also, I think for her, it's also like, she doesn't always feel like playing a game. You know what I'm saying? And I think for me, sometimes I don't feel like playing a game, but because of what gaming is in my life, I'll still play. Like, I'll be like, I don't feel like playing right now. I'm like, you know what? I want to keep playing because I want to finish this game. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like an honor system. So I think maybe if she gets past that wall where she becomes kind of like an honor gamer, then maybe she'll play more games and switch it up. But yeah,
I wonder when you actually like get past that point to where like it's, I guess, integrated into your life to where it's one of those, because it's kind of like a passive thing at that point, Because I think for some people, like, it takes so much effort to get into the game that playing it is actually, you have to be in the right mindset to do it. Whereas if you grew up playing games, then you might as well be like, reading a book, watching TV, washing dishes or something. Like it's super
more natural.
passive. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a feeling like this is just my personal opinion. And I wonder to hear y'all's opinion as well. My opinion is when you start to think about it outside of that experience itself, right? Like, I feel like for me, the best example I can use is MMA, because I wasn't into MMA a few years ago, and I went to, one of the events with some of the guys, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. This event was awesome, right? But I'd walk away from the fight and I'd never think about it again, right? Then I'd go to another fight and I'd meet new characters. That's like new storylines. And then, oh, interesting. I wouldn't care. And then eventually I knew enough information that like I'd hear like in the past, I might hear the same information, but I wouldn't engage with it. Like, oh, Conor McGregor got into an issue with the police. I would, okay, cool. I'll just keep it moving. But now I'll just, I would start clicking on those articles, or I'd start like, looking deeper. And then all of a sudden, like, I would go and like, oh, I wonder when this person is fighting, and I'd search their name. And then, oh, I wonder if there's another card this weekend, and then eventually it just became almost like a routine where in my mind, like MMA is just like a part of the program. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's like you invested so much into it. Like now you have like inherent value from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do y'all think? What do y'all think it takes for somebody to make that jump?
Peer pressure.
You better play this game.
Well, not like, maybe not like active peer pressure, but the need to like belong, or maybe somewhere in between. Maybe it's like, hey, I want you to play with me. Come get out of yourself a little bit and do this new thing.
Persuasion.
And then the other part of it is like, oh, I see all my friends playing. Let me see what that's about.
So do you think it's more like a friend group versus like an individual? Because like you probably could keep telling Keisha to play a game, but she might not be into it. But do you think if like 4 or 5 of her friends are playing a game, she might be more?
So for Keisha specifically?
No, yeah, I'm just using her as like an example, but just as a human being. Like,
it depends on the person, I would say. I think some people are like latent gamers. Like they'd be willing, they would enjoy it if only they gave it a chance. And so if you pose it to them, there's not much friction. On the other hand, there's people who also would enjoy it, but there's maybe more friction.
Yeah, I think if somebody sees you enjoying it, or like you can, I guess, format it in a way that is more like they can glean accessible, that they'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Transference of passion.
There you go. Yeah.
Sports.
I
mean, making things accessible. Yeah. If you can easily explain like, oh, this is what's happening, maybe the story, or like what's literally happening on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can say that what exactly you just said, being able to explain what's happening is the exact reason why I couldn't convince Julie to play Animal Crossing. I couldn't really effectively explain what was happening as I was playing. Like, I could tell her verbatim, and she could see it, what was happening in the game, but there was no way for me to explain why any of it mattered.
What it feels like to play.
Interesting.
There are some games that are more subtle, and they're probably more difficult to, like, make someone understand. Like, how is this a game? I still don't understand how Animal Crossing is a game, to be honest.
It's an interesting thing because it's like long-term goals, right? Like in Animal Crossing, it's like you're doing a thing because say you want to pay off your debt, like, but you're doing this to do this, so you can do this, so you can do this, so you can do this and get this. And to try to explain that to somebody who doesn't inherently get that is like impossible.
Yeah.
But, but in football, it's like, I'm trying to win the games and then I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. Okay, cool. Like, that's it. 2 objectives done. You know?
It's like delayed gratification in the game, but your gratification isn't delayed if you never start playing it because, like, Tom Nook is the reason why you have to do any of this stuff. And so if you never even pick up, you never meet him, then
what is this?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, like, for a game like Minecraft, which has no objective, like,
also very subtle.
It's very subtle, but like for Shailene, like she could just sit in there and say, she'll make her own objective. I want to make a garden. That's what she just said one day. Like, I want to make a garden, and she just.
I mean, that's what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but the thing is, like, nobody told her that. She just saw flowers and she knows there's different ones. And she was like, oh, I want every type of flower. And she would just go on her own journeys. Like, we'd be playing together and I'd be like, where are you? She's like, I don't know, but I'm following the flowers. Like, and she'd come back with hundreds of flowers. Like, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was driving her to play, you know? And it's like, maybe it's also like you can infer your own goals in the game. Like, oh, I'm playing Mario Kart. I want to be first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it's just like, I want to be good at Mario Kart. It's like, I always want to win. You know, I always, like, a racing game is pretty straightforward. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
When you think about it, like, compared to.
If you're not first, you're last.
That might be why Keisha doesn't like the idea of Minecraft, because I don't play, and I'm not really one who's into make your own fun type games. Where it's just very loose. And so, you know, when she asked me about it, I didn't really know what to tell her. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like living in the Lego set is kind of how I described it.
Oh, yeah.
I think if I was into it and I could explain why I liked it, maybe she'd be willing to look past the big blocks, you know, the pixel art.
Interesting. That is an interesting point, because I think one of the impetuses for Shilene being down to play Minecraft was that me and Kyle were playing Minecraft a lot. And she would sit in on our crazy circumstances of being in a cave and things going bad and like us trying to figure out like we're lost in this cave. You know, like she would watch it and then she's like, I want to try this. You know, or she might note something. Maybe I was just playing. She was just watching. She's like, oh, why are you doing that? You know, she might ask me that. And I'm like, oh, we're trying to like make better armor. Interesting. Like, and it's like she'd see it repeatedly. Like engage with it. And actually that makes a lot of sense, because Shilene is starting to get into MMA, like UFC. And it's because I watch UFC pretty much every weekend if there's a fight, or every other. And she'll, you know, she doesn't have anything to do at the moment. She'll sit down with me. And then she's like, who's, you know, and then I'm so passionate about it. I'll explain every single fight. Like, oh, this person's been fighting for 6 years and da-da-da-da. And this person hates this guy and this guy hates this guy. And this guy's known for this. And she's just like taking in like, oh, interesting. And then, you know, one day she'll see an article in like the same way. She's like, I told her one time, I was like, oh, you know, I know you're interested in this person. You told me you like them. Did you know this? She was like, oh yeah, I read an article about it. I was like, like, okay, like, yo. so
yeah, that's an interesting thing that you brought up about. I think that's a huge thing. The objectives in games are like, I think they have the connotation that you must have quests, right? Like there must be somebody telling you what to do. There must be a list of things to do. But it's like, if that were the case, then these sandbox games would fall apart. But
yeah.
But like you said, because you can make your own you can make your own objectives, and I guess the systems in place are so predictable, but in an interesting way. It's like, you know, like I think there's plenty of games where you have a lot of freedom, right? Maybe you can pick up flowers even, but you can't put them back down. And if you can put them back down, it's restricted where you can put them down. Like you have to buy the property or something crazy. And it's like, with those limits off, as well as like this structured system, then you can create those objectives and know that 99% of the time in Minecraft's case, you'll be able to follow through with them.
Yeah, and I think it's like the expectations are clear, but also you'll get unexpected results sometimes, right? Like you'll do a thing, this is how this works, and it always works this way. And then one day you'll put a flower in a certain type of material, and then it does a thing. And then you go, wait, do other things do this? And then now you want to go and you'll figure out more. And I think that's engaging to any type of player. So We're kind of coming up on our time here, so I want to throw something out at you guys. This is actually something me and Kyle have already discussed, but maybe we can take it to the next level. So me and Kyle were talking about doing a double date, basically, you know, Shilene and I, him and Julie, and we've done it before. It was a blast. You know, shout out to what was the game we played?
Fibbage?
No.
It was one of those
Jackbox.
Was it a Jackbox game?
Jackbox, right?
Yeah,
you don't know Jack?
One of the games in Jackbox is Fibbage.
Yeah. It was a whole bunch of games we played. All I remember is Snatch-A-Wig and something else. It was really, really hilarious. But anyway,
it was wild.
But we were talking about like doing it again, and then Kyle had thrown out, oh, maybe we could all play Minecraft together. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd be down. I know Shilene would be down. Like relatively, like Shilene doesn't want to be in a competitive space. That's for sure. I know that. Like she's not trying to compete with nobody really. That kind of takes the joy out of it. But also she's competitive, so I don't know. We'll see about that. But I was like, oh, so maybe when the time comes after you've been wedded, maybe we can do a triple after date of playing Minecraft and seeing how we can make something out of that. Do something together. But maybe me and Kyle can start it and then go from there. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got to introduce Julie formally to Minecraft. She's aware of it, but I don't think she's ever played it.
Yeah, sit her down.
Yeah, I've never played it. Keisha's never played it. That's kind of a hard sell, but I guess I'd be willing to try.
Well, play with us maybe and see where, and then I don't know. Like, I never had any appeal in Minecraft. I thought it was just like, what is this stupid game?
Same.
And then, like, we played together one time with, like, Antoine and some of the guys from BBN. And then it was, like, interesting. And then we played again, and I was like, oh. And then again, I was like, oh. So...
every time, huh?
A little bit more. And
it's actually, so maybe I play on PC and she plays on the Switch, and we play like that.
Ooh. Yeah, you could do that. That's... whoever had... Yeah, probably her play on PC, because that makes it easier. So she doesn't have to get, like, a Switch... Live, whatever it's called. What's it called?
She would play on my Switch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it would be based on your account. And
that'd be fine.
Well, it'd be fine, but let me tell you something. This is what happened. I'm serious with you, and I'm putting this out as like a thought process. I would say let her play on her own account, because what happened is Shilene played with me, and then eventually she wanted to play by herself, and then I'd have my own account, and I couldn't play. You know what I'm saying? So I recommend giving her her own profile
for safety.
So
I assume that it's not crossplay, so she'd be playing on my Nintendo account, but it'd be her Minecraft.
Yeah, but it's the same.
I'll look into it. I'm not married to anything. I'm willing to take your suggestion. If
I'm just saying, married to her.
Hey, yeah, but as far as Minecraft goes, it is associated directly to your account, your Minecraft account, and your. So it is one and the same. But anyway, I can explain that later. But because I've played on the Switch with Shilene in different platforms. It's cross-platform. So
cool. Good to know.
So yeah,
just like Fortnite.
Just like Fortnite, and almost like Apex, unless you're PlayStation. Yes, good times. So anyway, cool. I mean, it sounds like we figured it out. Minecraft is the answer to all our problems, to convincing our significant others, friends, and family. Oh, and the Wii.
Yeah.
I got
Minecraft and Wii, Mario Kart.
Oh, I was gonna say this. The only other game that I have found that has crossed all barriers for sure is the stupid like dance games and like the rock bands. Like those games have transferred beyond barriers. So that's
Guitar Hero was a phenomenon.
Yeah. I didn't like Guitar Hero because I struggled with the fingers, but once Rock Band came out, I was like, yeah, I like that.
What? They were the same game.
No, they were different.
No, Rock Band had drums.
Rock Band had drums.
And
Rock Band had singing. Rock Band had guitar and bass. It was different.
I
think Guitar Hero eventually copied them.
They did,
but not.
By then, Rock Band had already eaten their lunch.
Yeah. They did totally copy them, 100%. To get, hey, got to get that money, and that fast money, that quick money, and then they're like, peace. But they still making Just Dances for the Wii, so
yeah.
Yep.
So
I think last year was the last game.
Like you got to think about
riddance.
that. Like the parents out there, like, yo, we still got to buy some games for these kids. What's $5? And something that we know they're like anyway. Like, oh, let's get Just Dance 12 for the Wii. Like, they don't want to buy a new system. Like, come on. Like, you love your kids, buy them a new system. Anyway, so any last remarks from y'all fellas before we get out of here for the peoples?
Just a warning about Minecraft. We might have mentioned it, but I just want to make sure to tell Keisha, in case she doesn't like that type of game, it is a very much find the fun type of game, and that's what deterred me in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you don't say anything. Just play. Cause the more caveats you give, this, you won't like this, but you're like this, like the more the person thinks like, I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just like, yo, you'll have a great time. You have a great time. We're gamers, so we kind of get that. But I think if you're not, it might be, just tell us that you can, make houses and flowers, and you can get married if you'd like to.
Ooh.
Oh, heck yes. We can play in our dream house.
You really could. Actually, the thing that me and Shailene are currently working on is building our current townhouse, 1-for-1. We already built the structure, so now it's just like decorating and putting everything together, making it look like the house. So
nice.
1-for-1 floor plan, like truly. So spacing and everything. So anyway, because I'm an engineer and I'm a nerd, so that's what I do.
Gotta do it.
Upstairs and downstairs. So cool. Well, everybody out there in the internet's worlds, in the Super Agile Bro Nation, we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you,
always
Steve.
A pleasure.
I thank you always for...
Did you just call me Sneeze?
Well, now I will. That is your new nickname. Thank you, Sneeze, for your time. You gave it to yourself. For your time. Achu. And anyway, I will not me, but we will see you guys next time. I appreciate you guys listening. Definitely tell us your stories about your friends and families playing games with y'all, your significant others. What's your plan to convert them into gamers if they're not already? Or have you been converted into a gamer from somebody else who loves you because they know the best for you and want you to do the right thing? If they have, tell us your story and share it with the world. But thank you guys for listening. To all our YouTube fans, to all our Spotify fans. That's it. Did you say that's it? To all our Spotify fans, to all our SoundCloud fans, to all our Google, podcast fans, all our Stitcher fans, thank you. And until next time, peace.